Hello everyone, Roti here, and today I would like to share with you 5 dungeons that has probably wiped your party in Final Fantasy XIV. If you would like to see more of these short content videos, remember to hit the like and subscribe button in order to support me in making more of these videos. Dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV is designed in a way where players have to fulfill 2 requirements in order to run them. Number 1, your job level, and secondly, your item level. If you are below the required levels, you will not be able to run the dungeons. However, if you are way over leveled, the game syncs your level so that you are not overpowered. This function is important in order to allow newer players to enjoy their dungeon experience and not being carried throughout the content. Because of these mechanics in place, even veteran players may find it difficult to navigate around early dungeon levels. Now, I've seen tanks who would go all the way pulling all the monsters to the end of the lane, resulting in team wipe. I've also seen healers who prioritize on doing DPS rather than healing, causing team wipes. However, there are some dungeons that are known to punish greedy players. Now, if you have led your team to wipe in any of these dungeons, type it in the comment section below and let us talk about it. Number 1, Keeper of the Lake. This is one of the later dungeons in A Realm Reborn. At this stage of the game, the developers probably assume that you've gotten a hang of running in dungeons and decided to increase its difficulty. The dungeon is so annoying to navigate through with high HP monsters and bosses. This is probably one of the dungeons that requires good healing uptime. Midgard Sommer is a boss that takes a while to kill. These bosses hit so hard that you can lose momentum if any of your players die. This is not a difficult dungeon to run, and you may come out of it alive, but you probably wiped here at least once. Number 2, Hallminster Switch. This is the first dungeon in Shadowbringers, and its difficulty definitely surprises all of us. With low item level at the beginning of the expansion and not knowing what to expect, the monsters here hit so hard that some players just prefer to take it slow. And then comes Thistlin the Forgiven, which challenges you not only in terms of battle, but also morally. Well, would you kill your friends if they turn into a zombie? The real challenge began when you face Sin Eater Philia. There are 2 instances where you can be killed, causing a loss of momentum in your team, leading to a team wipe. This is when the boss casts Fierce Beating and the right and left knock. Hallminster Switch definitely raised the bar for dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV. It did not get any easier after this dungeon. Number 3, Zemil Darkhold. This dungeon is easy. Actually, very easy if you have a disciplined tank. The problem is, this dungeon punishes greedy tanks, like me. Here's the spot where you pull all the monsters towards you. Healers at this point of the game do not have the capability to speed heal your party. When the tank dies, everybody dies. However, this is not the worst spot in the dungeon. Well, the worst is right here, when you have someone like this jumping off this cliff. Number 4, Armorot. Armorot is the most beautiful dungeon ever made in Final Fantasy XIV.
And you will see the end of a world.
Armorot is just beautiful. The design is great, the laning is fantastic, the pace is awesome, and the lore of this dungeon is incredible. The dungeon is really straightforward until you meet Therion, which is the final boss of the dungeon. This is supposedly the guy that started this whole Ascian movement. Of course, it is meant to be challenging. Now, I cannot stress enough how difficult this boss is as a dungeon boss, especially for first timers. It leaves very little room for players to navigate around. It has trial level mechanics. It's also one of the few dungeon bosses that can throw you off cliff, and it hits super hard. I don't think parties continue to wipe after doing these dungeons a couple of times. But I still think that Armorot is a wipe-worthy dungeon, especially if you're running this dungeon for the first time. Number 5, Aurum Vale. If you have never wiped in Aurum Vale, you have probably not been playing Final Fantasy XIV the right way, yes? Every time this run starts, tanks will fix their eyes on the finish line, purple in color. They rush over, pulling every frogs and plants possible, thinking that they are strong and doing a fantastic job, only to wipe the party. Who would you blame then? The healers who can't fix your brain? The DPS who fights through your stupidity? Or the tank who is constantly optimistic? I'm quite sure that there are other dungeons that may have caused you and your party to wipe. However, I believe that these are the 5 dungeons that has high wiping ratio. So if you have caused your party to wipe in any of the Final Fantasy XIV dungeons, do type it out in the comment section below and let's talk about it. That's it for today's video, and I'll see you next time.